Isn't episode 51? I think so. Not entirely sure. Time flies when you're having fun. What can I say? Let's see if everything is working. Everything should be working. Everything should be working just fine. Everything should be working. Should be just fine. Boy, that was a lot of sound. Here we are. It is a Wednesday morning. I have a cup of coffee in hand, and I just thought I would sit out here and enjoy the view. But the view is currently obscured by a cloud. So let's give it 20 minutes and see what happens while we sit and chat about life and health and fitness. And let's see if I can or cannot actually get the microphone fixed properly. There we go. That's better. Probably might have to edit all of this out. Oh boy. Being consistent is a thing. 551 trainings. It's something to think about, wouldn't you say? I think it's definitely something worth thinking about, worth reflecting on, and also being content with. I mean, there's 550 days that I would have been alive anyway, yet here we are. Hey, who's chatting to me? Let's see. We have Justin. Thanks for dropping by, saying hi. I'm doing all right. I hope you're doing okay. I am having an amazing time actually here, as you can see. Just rearrange this there. I can actually see who's chatting at me while also getting a glance at the view. I'm doing great. Thanks for dropping by. Thanks for asking. It is 14 degrees. It's 6:40 a.m. Just finished a workout, and I'm just sitting here now, reflecting and relaxing, and just having a good morning, and enjoying life, and thinking about, I should put that, the last 2.5 years, maybe even the last decade, because I'm 41, so the next decade is 40 to 50. And there's a general rule of thumb, right? Everything that I set in motion or worked for the last 15, 20 years now comes into fruition. Now is the time to reap some of the benefits of what I've sown, and to think about sowing new things for the next 20 years. And I've been very fortunate. I think I mentioned that in different podcasts and different moments of the stream. I have found a great job and had a good career. I have a loving family, great family, generally a good and relaxing life. I have very few real big concerns and scares in life, or have had over the last 2 years. So things seem to be settling down and things seem to be going well. So that's how I'm doing right now. What about you? How are you doing as this cloud is passing me by? I hope you're doing well where you're at, and I hope life is treating you well where you're at in the world right now. So yeah, thinking about the last 2 years, 2.5 years actually, and how far we've come. How this morning was a good reminder, because the last 3 days I've been struggling. We've been walking, 10, 14 kilometers a day. Some days I hike up to the peaks, which is a kilometer up, and a good, 7 to 10 kilometers from the hotel up to one of the peaks of the mountains in the area. So I've been a bit tired. I think the last 2 days also because we have friends also in the same area that we've been meeting up with. There have been a couple of beers shared, some drinking, some, unregular, less than super nutritious foods that have been consumed, all in good fun and in good spirits. But you notice it in the mornings when you try to wake up and do things. In the last 2 days, I've actually struggled to get out of bed. Yesterday, I simply got out of bed and sat here for an hour. The skies were clear, by the way, yesterday, and it was a great morning and a great time to just be alive and be sitting here and chilling. This morning, the view is slightly different, but it's still a view. And like I said, give it 15-20 minutes and the view will clear, and it will be a beautiful, hopefully hot, summery day today. But the last 2.5 years have been something different, because I started to focus on training, I started to focus on my health, I started to focus on my health and fitness. And to be very honest, I think looking at what it has brought me mentally, emotionally, physically, the change in mindset I think that it has brought into my 40s about what health and fitness actually is, has surprised me also, to the point where I have not really, I should put it, I wish I would have learned sooner in life that health and fitness is not about looks. And I know that in a media-driven world, when I was a teenager, it was magazines, then it was Facebook and YouTube, now it's Instagram, TikTok, all of these platforms. It's actually incredibly detrimental to your sense of self, your self-esteem, your self-confidence, your desire to work out, your ability to see the progress you're making, when you're focused on what you look like, because it is incredibly difficult and incredibly regimental and incredibly hard to reach that level of elite fitness that gets you on the cover of a magazine. I know that they make it look easy because you see the snapshot of where they are, right? But you don't see usually you don't see the journey all the way there and how to get there. And I'm not talking about like Olympic lifters that compete for, Olympic gold, or bodybuilders that compete in the Mr. Olympia or Miss Olympia contests. Because you can follow their journeys and you can learn what it takes to get that big and that lean and that dry for those purposes from that. And then you have to factor that into your life, right? These people live and train for those sports. These people live and train for that level of performance. If you are an average father or mother who works 40 to 60 hours a week, who has 1, 2, 3 kids at home, who wants to have a social life, who wants to do things and just be capable and have fun and go out into the world and be who you are and experience the world and everything it has to offer, those standards are completely off the charts. But that is what we sometimes think health and fitness is. Or you have to be like, the world champion CrossFit. And you have to train that hard, and you have to be that fit, and you have to be that lean and that strong. And the only thing I ever hear people, average Joes like myself who lift very heavy, tell me is, I hurt my back doing a deadlift. And I've hurt my back cleaning 20 kilos of a kettlebell off the ground. So it doesn't take that much to get injured, which defeats the whole purpose of trying to be fit. So the standard, right, that we see and that we set for ourselves through media is actually not the standard that we need for our own life. And it took me up until 1-2 years ago to actually figure out what the standard needs to be for me and why I think where I am right now was not as good as it gets. I could be leaner and fitter, and I'm slowly and gradually working on building more muscle and maybe leaning out a little bit, like trying to control that percentage of fat that is on my body. But it is not a goal for me to have a six-pack and be ripped so that I can walk around on the beach or run around without my t-shirt in the hotel gym, like I've seen some people do during some of my holidays. The purpose of everything that we're doing here, the purpose of training, the purpose of fitness, the purpose of simply being healthy and fit is to stay healthy and fit, to make the most of life, to do the things that I want to do today, but also 10 years from now, 20 years from now. And that's kind of where it's at. That's kind of what's on my mind every day is, am I doing the right things? Yes. Is it tedious? Yes. It is. Somewhat tedious. I mean, there's no point in me lying to you or denying it, right? I show up on Monday, I do a kettlebell workout. I show up on Tuesday, I do mobility. I show up on Wednesday, I do a kettlebell workout. I show up on Thursday, I do mobility. I show up on Friday, I do a kettlebell workout. I show up on Saturday, I do mobility. I show up on Sunday, we do a podcast. And then I go for a run. And then it's Monday again. I have, I think, one type of breakfast that I generally revert to. I have a lot of greens and vegetables for lunch. Dinner has most variations, but throughout the week, usually it's the same 5 meals over and over and over again, right? So I eat, wraps 50 times a year, basically. That's what it comes down to. Hey, and if you're dropping by the way, thanks for dropping by. Say hi and chat. Let me know how you're doing. My name's Toby. I'm 41 years old. I train to live an active, self-sufficient, and adventurous life. I do so by minding my sleep. Try to get between 7 to 9 hours in a day. I do so by minding what I eat. I try to eat whole foods. I try to eat within my energy balance. I try to eat sufficient protein to maintain and build muscle and strength. And I work out. I try to connect with my friends, and I try to have things in my life that I'm learning so that my mind stays engaged with life and living. And that's more or less my recipe for health and longevity. So if that's what you're interested in, hit like on the stream, drop by, say hi, go to my channel, subscribe, and we can continue this conversation. Man, I would hope that that fog lifts, because you would have such a great view of the world from where I'm sitting right now. But right now, I think we're just letting the mood pass us by and sitting in the clouds, literally, thinking about life. So the standards we set ourselves are, maybe not based on the right vectors or inputs because of what we see online. We all have a different starting point when it comes to health and fitness. We're all in a different spot. And health and fitness for the average population like you and me, people who have jobs, who have families, who need to fit this in somewhere in their daily and weekly routine, right? We need to be very realistic about the outcomes we want to have. I made a very stupid calculation the other day when I woke up. Let me just respond to some of the chat here. Um, hey, thanks for dropping by, MK. Yeah, the weather could be better. It's supposed to be 21 degrees, but we're up at an altitude of, I think, 1,500, 1,600 meters, going up to 21, 2,200 meters later. So you get big clouds because you're literally in the clouds, but it's all good. I think it's going to be a great day. The Git team, thanks for dropping by. It does look foggy. Mel B, thanks for dropping by. I hope you're doing well. I hope life's treating you well. It's good to know that you're still on the stream and on the channel with me. And I hope those kettlebells are paying big dividends where you're at in the world, that you're good and healthy, and that this day is going to be a good one for you and yours. So we're talking about standards, right? When you're in this world, trying to make a living, trying to have a life, and then trying to stay fit and healthy in life, for life, and for what life has to offer. 2 times 30 minutes of weight training might be all you're going to get in, but I think weight and resistance training, absolutely critical, just for your general sense of health and fitness. And I know getting started is hard because nobody likes to feel weak, nobody likes to feel incapable and incompetent, but when you start off, it's very confronting to learn how unfit you actually are. So for example, for me, when I started off 2.5 years ago, I was doing 7-minute workouts. I was doing 3.5 minutes of work and 3.5 minutes of catching my breath, if at all. And that was hard. That was start stop. And it was, 30 seconds of jumping jacks, 30 seconds of running in place, 30 seconds of push-ups, 30 seconds of lunges, 30 seconds of a plank, just like really basic, not even with weights. And I couldn't do it. I was so out of shape that I was sweating in those 7 minutes, sweating tremendously, sweating like crazy, okay? And that's hard. I think that's hard to realize and hard to learn and understand that that is your starting point in health and fitness, coming from having trained for a black belt for judo 5-6 days a week, being confident and fit and capable, throughout my teens and early 20s, getting a bit out of shape, getting back into shape, getting completely out of shape again, and having to come to terms with the fact that despite having been very fit when we got married and having been very lean for our wedding and for our honeymoon, where we traveled to Mauritius, which was a great holiday as well. Hey, there the sun seems to be coming through. Now, at that point, being so incapable and so incompetent was very confronting. And it took me 6 months to find a rhythm where I came to 30 minutes 2-3 times a week. And I was experimenting, and that's how I discovered kettlebells, I think like a year later. But everything I did up to then was, with machines and with body weights, and kind of like based off this 7-minute workout idea, and taking it from there, and slowly building up now to where I can hike 10 kilometers up a mountain in 2 hours. And an uphill hike is, a lot of walking squats, so to speak, in those 2 hours. And if need be, after that, walk another 5 or 10 kilometers with 16 kilos, one of my kids, in one of those carrying bags on my back across a mountain range, a hiking path, because that's what we do with the family, and not being too worn out by the end of the day, and looking at everything it took to get to that level of fitness, to be able to be that engaged with the day and with the kids and with life here. That's taken some time and effort, but it's a part of a routine. And like I said this morning, the last 2 days, it was very hard to get out of bed and to actually start up. And I skipped Monday, and I skipped yesterday's mobility routine. First of all, I feel it when I don't do mobility. But second of all, this morning I forced myself by willpower to get out to set up. And guess what? The moment I started, it felt really good. The moment I was done, felt even better. I think the feeling of reaching the peak of those mountains after a 10-kilometer hike, nothing really comes close to that. I think it's important to see, there we go, the clouds passed, and it's going to get clearer and clearer, and you're in for a treat with the church bell ringing in a moment. And then hopefully the view clearing even further. But, like there's this point where you're walking uphill. Let's see, praise God, said hi, thanks for dropping by. What country is Toby's in? Barracuda. This is Austria. These are the Austrian Alps, and you'll see in a moment, and you'll get the view in a moment. It's going to be great. And YouTube Punk, my friend, New Amsterdam or in the Netherlands, thanks for dropping by, saying hi. I hope you're doing well in Texas. I hope you and yours are doing well. It's 7 a.m. here, so I'm guessing it's pretty late where you're at. But I am very glad that you are. I think Gregory is from Austria, isn't he, or from the south of Germany? But I'm very glad that you're here and that you're doing well. And I haven't spoken with you in a while, don't worry about it. I'm glad you're up and about and saying hi. So the clock is winding up. There's going to be a minute of ringing in about 30 seconds. It's going to be very hard for you to hear what I have to say. I'm sorry, but we'll continue talking after that. Anyway, if you're watching right now and you find this conversation useful or interesting, my name is Toby. I'm 41 years old, and I train to live an active, self-sufficient, and adventurous life. It's about the way I feel, not about the way I look. So hit like, subscribe to my channel, and we can continue the conversation, all right? And there you're seeing the mountain ranges in the distance. And slowly but surely, it's going to get clearer and clearer. But first, we're going to have to deal with the ringing of the clock. And then we're going to continue talking for a few more minutes. And I'm going to be off because it's time to make breakfast and time to make the most of the day, because we've had There we go. Uh, no, it doesn't. Thankfully, it stops. I think 8 or 9 p.m. is the last ring, and 7 a.m. is the first one. Thank goodness. I think everyone figured that out a long time ago already. Um, but hey, do you see the sky's clearing? You see the tips, and if you're at the mountain tips in the distance, and if you look very closely across the mountains right there, you're going to see snow-covered peaks far, far away in the distance. There are still places in the world that are covered in snow year-round, but they're getting fewer and fewer and further between. But we were talking about being consistent, right? Um, and YouTube Punk, you know, that snooze button, right? That's exactly it. But then getting out of bed and actually doing the workout feels pretty good, but getting to the top of the mountain is a different kind of peak, but it's a similar experience. It's finishing something that you've said you're going to set out to start to do. And walking those, hiking uphill for an hour and a half, 2 hours, there are stretches and points where you feel like giving up. You're like, this is not worth it. I'm going to turn around, go to a lift, take a gondola up, and take the easy way. And then there's that final 1 kilometer where you can see where you need to go, but there's still this huge winding path because nobody, well, unless you're a mountain climber, you know, walks straight up a steep mountain. And then you make it, and you get to the top, and you feel really satisfied and really fulfilled and really pleased with yourself for actually having completed that challenge for the day. That's the reason we do hard things. That's the reason we challenge ourselves to try to do something that we find difficult, whether that's learning a new language, whether that's learning a new sport, whether that's stepping out of our comfort zone into a new job, or taking on a new challenge, or trying to climb that mountain, or trying to get fit and healthy, is to have that sense of accomplishment at the end of an effort that we're making. And I think a lot of things in life are like walking up or hiking up that hike mountain, that peak. You set off with good confidence. It goes quite well. The first part of the journey is relatively easy. You hit a hard part, but you push through on willpower. And then it's just step by step by step by step, right? If I step 1 meter at a time, it's 1,000 steps. That's 10,000 steps to get to the top of the mountain, probably a bit more, right? Because I don't step a full meter with every stride. And it's very repetitive, just like it is very repetitive to get up on Monday, do kettlebell, get up on Tuesday, do mobility, get up on Wednesday, do kettlebell, have a healthy breakfast, have a healthy lunch, have a healthy dinner, get to bed on time to sleep 7 to 9 hours, right? All of these things add up over time to a general sense of health and fitness. But you need to really um, think about, how should I put that, why it is that you're doing the things that you're doing, okay? I think other people in the hotel are starting to wake up as well. So I think we're going to call it quits, and I'm going to go to the baker, and we're going to have a good morning and good day with the family out in the mountains. I appreciate you dropping by. Thanks for dropping by, hitting like, saying hi. Remember, if you're interested, just go ahead and like, subscribe, and we can continue this conversation about health and fitness anytime here on the channel. I hope these reflections were somewhat useful and helpful for you. They are always insightful for me, and I'm sorry the view didn't clear anymore in the time that we were talking, but there will be tomorrow and the day after and the day after, and then sadly it's back to my kitchen and to the normal life. Can you believe it's been 4 weeks? It's been 4 great weeks. Um, but set different standards. I think that's the takeaway for today. Be realistic. Be optimistic, but be realistic and understand that what you see online and maybe what you've learned in terms of what health and fitness should look like isn't what health and fitness looks like. And I think if you go online through my channel and through some of the people I follow and through some of the people who are actually vested in real health and real fitness and not looks and aesthetics, you're going to discover some interesting people to follow, to listen to, and to see what everyday struggles look like and why staying fit and healthy through our 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s is tantamount, but also a challenge that we probably need to take on in a good way. With realistic standards and expectations of ourselves, not chasing a perfect score, but simply doing the things that we can and seeing how much impact small things can have on our life and our well-being. Thanks for dropping by. Thanks for saying hi. I hope you're doing well. Have a great day. Take care, YouTube Punk. Take care, Barry Kuda. Take care. Praise God. Daniel Berry Sports, thanks for dropping by. Happy Tuesday to you. DW King, thanks for saying hi. Mel B as well. The kids team, MK, Snarf, Justin, of course. And remember, hit like, subscribe. And we are going to continue this conversation, hopefully, and another day at another time. And I appreciate all of you dropping by and taking time out to spend some time with me here on the stream this morning. Take care, friends, and be well. And remember, as always, subscribe.